Welcome back to the Purple Couch. I'm your host, Frederic Li, and my guest today is Franchesca Buendia. She was the campaign manager for City Council for James Coleman. Thank you for being on our show, Franchesca.
Oh, thank you for having me here.
So let's just start off with, what was your background in politics? How did you start?
Being campaign manager was my first time. My background, I was a poli-sci student at UC Irvine, but I wasn't really that immersed in it until I became campaign manager, and that was my first hands-on action there.
What was your experience being on the campaign?
My experience being on the campaign, there was a lot of learning, and then really getting to know the groundwork and how the logistics of running a campaign really was. I came in with really knowing nothing except for knowing James, but other than that, it was definitely a lot of work and a lot of networking with people and just encouraging people hey, come on, help out. But yeah, my experience, it was good. It was fun and tiring, but good.
So then, when did you first become interested in the world of politics?
I first became interested, honestly, it was through the internet. That website Tumblr. I learned a lot of politics through there, but I think what I really gained from that website, critical thinking, because a lot of the posts there, they weren't the best, but I really engaged through that. I think an event that really sparked my interest in politics was in 2015 for the Ferguson unrest. Yeah, there was just a lot of thinking that goes on with what is politics, what does it mean, and how does it affect people, and how does it set the conditions for people's lifestyles. And I wanted to get involved through that.
As mentioned earlier, you were the campaign manager. So how did you, the first time, being on a campaign trail, not knowing anything, how did you get the attention of the voters?
A lot of grassroots work. I honestly didn't even know what grassroots meant until I really got immersed in the campaign. So grassroots is just really getting in touch with the people living in the area. Ours is District 4 in South San Francisco. And an advantage with my connections there is that I grew up there, District 4, and our high school, it's right next to that district. So I knew a lot of people that would be willing to help do literature drops, do helping with calls, and then even help with donations too.
Then if you're super well known and you're very what would be the word, you know the area very well and you know the people pretty well too. So then what are the younger voters looking for in a candidate?
I think at the time it was 2020 elections, what the voters were looking for in the younger category was someone who was receptive of what younger people were concerned about, like rising rent prices, how people are going to be outpriced in the area because the housing crisis in the Bay is pretty nuts. And I think younger voters are just looking for someone that's really competent in what the voters really look for, apart from the incumbent that James is running against.
And can you explain who James was running against?
James is running against the incumbent. His name was Richard Garbarino. He was the mayor for South City. I think that was a really tough opponent because he was in city council for 18 years. And I think winning that campaign was just really amazing. That was a highlight for 2020.
So a David and Goliath sort of situation.
Yeah. And then just knowing that James just ran it all from people he knew from high school, people he got to know from the campaign, and the support he got from other community members, apart from the established network that the incumbent had beforehand.
So then, can you also explain how did you get involved? You sort of touched on it earlier, but how did you get involved with James's campaign?
I got involved because I'm really close friends with him. We went to the same school from elementary, middle, and high school, and we're also neighbors. So yeah, we were involved, and he texted me hey, I'm thinking about running for a campaign, or running a campaign for city council. What if you're my campaign manager? And then I was yeah, I'm down. And that's how it started.
And then can you tell us a little bit about James? Not a lot of people know about him. So it was like, can you give us like a little background history on James Coleman?
James, he was raised in South San Francisco, District 4. He went to public school all his life, from the Ponderosa Elementary down the street to Altaloma Middle School, and then South City down the street too. And he attended undergrad at Harvard University for, like, they don't call it poli-sci there, they call it government. And then he also pursued in like, he's pursuing something in like biotech. But yeah, he's like 22 now, and he is doing a great job as city councilman for District 4.
And can you explain what was it like campaigning for someone that's like so close to you?
Oh, it was great. Like, I really like the workflow. You know, pandemic, our work from home office, you know, our bedrooms, and then our communication routes, Discord, and then just really getting to be transparent with him and just saying everything that you feel about the campaign, the best routes, and like the shared connections we knew. That really helped us get along in like putting our steps forward.
How were you able to fund this campaign?
This campaign, we asked a lot of friends, and then we definitely had to put in a lot of work with online advertisement and networking with people. We also got in touch with a lot of community orgs, and they endorsed us and gained more traction for people to give us more and appeal more to other voters in the area. So yeah, it's just friends who know friends who also know friends with money.
Connections.
Yeah.
So then, how does someone like James Coleman, who's fairly young, he could easily connect with the younger audience? How does he connect with the older generation?
Our campaign, we really focused on having an inclusive and receptive community where he would be like the middleman with hearing what everyone from South City would want to see in the area. So he also got in touch with someone from the elderly housing down the street, and then when he got in touch with them, he just listened, and then that's when he really got sight of what they were concerned about, like safety and future housing plans to protect the elderly people in South City. So that really spread the word among the older population too.
Okay. So then, with the recent election, the 2020 election behind us already, before the 2020 election, there was the 2016 election, which was like pretty special in some ways. And a lot has changed between 2016 and 2020. So can you tell us what changed like in the voters? Like what were the voters looking for now different from 2016?
I think now, or like now or 2020? Like
well, let's say 2020.
2020, I think that was a special time, especially in the election, because there was so much political momentum. Because at that time, like from the summer of 2020, there was the Black Lives Matter movement coming up again, and then the upcoming election where people did not want Trump back in office. People were really like invigorated to be involved in politics, and I think that also gained a lot of special attention towards candidates who were receptive to younger people who lived in the current conditions, apart from like older established people in politics who are just like, oh, I'm used to people that are well off and that would just be okay with complacency. Like people were really looking for change in 2020 election.
Yeah, I was definitely one of those folks, because I think after the 2016 election, I tried to like, it really opened my eyes in like politics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really did change. So yeah. So then, at the moment, our current political atmosphere, what do you think like the future of politics will be heading towards? Like what sort of atmosphere will it be?
I think the future atmosphere will be, I think there'll be like another invigorating momentum coming up soon, probably towards the next election. Hopefully, I really liked seeing it, but what I was concerned about was like visibility politics apart from like values or like political ideals. But hoping that politics will transform in a way that really resonates with people and like a more united united approach instead of something that's more you know, branded and like platitudinous, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you again, Franchesca, for coming on the show. That's all for today, and we'll see you back on the Purple Couch next time.